Well, we have a fantastic guest today. Her name is Tamra Kennedy. We're going to go ahead and bring her on. And while we do that, why don't you tell us all about her?
All right. Well, initially I thought I would just do a short thing on Tamara, but she comes with such a wonderful background. I'm actually going to read her whole bio with your permission. So, 37 years ago, Tamara took a job as a secretary, and she was making $4.05 an hour working for a franchisee of a Burger King and Taco John's. After 17 years as an employee, Tamara was offered the opportunity to buy the restaurants from the owner. She currently owns and operates 9 Taco John's locations, primarily in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, but she also has one restaurant in central Iowa. Her personal mission is to provide a family environment for young people to experience their beginnings in the workforce so that they can continue their career paths with fundamental lessons that will serve them into the future. I thought that was unbelievable. So Tamara has become an outspoken proponent of franchising. She currently serves as a board member of the International Franchise Association and the 2019 co-chair of the Board Franchisee Engagement Task Force. Tamara is also the 2020 chair of the Franchisee Forum and a member of the Franchise Relationship Committee at the IFA. And on top of all that, in 2019, Tamara also partnered with 2 fellow franchisees, Tom Barber and Mitch Cohen, and formed something called the Performax Franchisee Advisors. And their goal is to work in partnership with franchisors to support the franchisees with growth goals, bringing franchise perspective to a franchisor and supplier planning initiatives, and to speak about the lessons that they have learned with their combined 97 years as franchisees. So, Tamara, I'm so glad to have you with us today. So welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. Very nice welcome. It's great to be here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we have 1,000 questions for you.
Okay.
But let's start with, you are in Minneapolis, and we are dealing with this George Floyd thing and the protesting and the rioting that is going on. Can you give us a man on the street perspective,
Sure.
Especially as a franchisee, as to
Sure.
what's going on?
First of all, I think that the heart and soul of this is that something so tragic happened to one person, and that death has really sparked the idea that we do need to talk about changes, but also that there are some things that can't be just a quick news segment and then we move on to whatever is new news. This is a real big kind of, I think, probably epic change in society. And from a business operator here in Minnesota, this happened on Monday, Memorial Day. And what was challenging, I think, is that, of course, we have COVID, so a lot of people aren't really kind of back into their normal routines. And a lot of us were really witness to what was happening real time because the news was on and it interrupted all coverage here. I have 8 restaurants here in Minnesota. 6 or maybe 5, probably I'll still say 6, are within distance of where the event happened and where some of the discontent started to show up. And by Tuesday morning, my whole team was on high alert, even though we hadn't seen what we now have seen across the world. I predicted that there was enough pressure in our worlds that it collided all into that one event and sparked kind of what we have. So my first concern is always to keep my 150 kids, all my employees are, I call kids, regardless of age, my 150 kids safe. We had looting that came within a block of one of our stores, our brand new store. We are grateful to the police that held the line at a Walgreens that was being destroyed. Targets in suburbs that you would not normally think would be associated with either peaceful demonstrations or maybe any kind of middle of the night activity, all of a sudden were being breached. Target closed, a lot of their stores. And today, I think the lesson for all of us is that as business owners, we didn't have a crisis plan for civil unrest. We do now. We didn't have a COVID plan either. I do now. But it is the bigger lesson of all is that the actions of some, whatever it is, the actions that can happen and how it affects the business community can both be catastrophic and also, I think, empowering, because I hope you all saw citizens come out and clean the blocks day after day, just not organized, just showing up with garbage bags and shovels and brooms and helping. And we're seeing that all across the country, and community has to stay together. My team also had they have a lot of pride in our restaurants. They wanted to stay and protect, and I said, no, go home. But it was challenging times, and we've learned a lot. We have learned a lot. Yeah.
Incredible.
I think it's an amazing thing to think that it isn't something that you think of in terms of, we didn't used to think that you had to have a plan for school shootings, and now we have plans for that. Now you've got to have a plan as a business owner, especially in a larger city, for civil unrest. In terms of your staff, you have 150 kids.
True.
You have a lot of diversity among those 150. How do you support them emotionally through something? Because not only do they want to stay and protect your business, the store where they work, their livelihoods, I'm sure they want to protect themselves, but I'm sure they also have personal fears and emotions, and I'm sure everybody's tensions are running high. I mean, how as a leader have you dealt with that sort of part of it?
Very tough. You're right. We pride ourselves, actually, and I always have, in finding the best representatives of each of the communities that we build our stores in. And that always means a diverse group of team. And that's important, right? The folks that maybe work 2 or 3 hours during the day, maybe they're doing it just to supplement Social Security income, they're retired, but they're also coaching the 17-year-old whose job is to learn how to cook or learn how to interact with guests, and it's their first job. And there's nothing better than having a diverse workforce for that. We also have diversity in race and in almost every other way that you can think of. Even some that are not from our country but have come here, we do take under our wing. We have one young man not long ago that showed up here in America at 16 years old from Ethiopia, could barely speak English. My son actually was his general manager at the time, and now through the course of life and becoming part of my personal family, we taught him how to drive a car, mostly successfully. I personally taught him how to swim. He's now married, has a child, and is working on becoming a doctor. He's a nurse now and working on becoming a doctor. And so going from not knowing English to working inside a restaurant to become part of a family is kind of something we specialize in. Emotionally, I think the idea for us has always been respect. We have the right to feel the way we do about what we see, but we also have respect for some rules that we have in place, which are really meant as boundaries, regardless of what's happening today or 10 years ago or 37 years ago in my case. We really don't allow conversations around 3 or 4 very volatile topics to happen in the workplace. We have lots of resources that we can give and share for counseling and outreach, but we just can't host a conversation around certain topics. And so we really try to talk about tacos, but our team knows that they really want to express or have fear. There's a kind of a mini group inside each of the stores to reach out to, and they connect, and we help them find the resources they need to work through what's going on for them and how how whatever's happening is affecting them. And not just this. I mean, there are many things happening. Hunger, real during COVID, families that are hungry, where my employees, 17, 18, 19 years old, are the only ones in the family working. Right? Mom and dad have been laid off. And so we've done a lot of work in the last 3 or 4 months, really, truly to understand that what you used to think was, you just took as a day as a day, things have changed so much. And it's a really good time to think about finding those resources, making sure you can help. Transportation, right? How do they get to work? They don't want to lose their job. Well, we buy Uber gift cards and hand them out. We want to make sure nobody feels left out and can't come to work because they don't have a car or can't use public transportation. So we've worked on it from every angle, I think. Yeah.
Well, and just to follow up on that real quick, you have a lot of young people. You talk about the teenagers. This is their first job.
We do.
I have a lot of young people, children, who are engaging in their first jobs. A lot of them are, from 13 to 22 are my kids. And I have a couple who are struggling with the idea of the future, and having 37 years of experience in the business. I think one of the things as a leader of young people, trying to instill in them the idea that we will recover, that things will go on, that you will be okay. How have you handled that? Because I imagine have you had young people expressing those existential fears and how they're going to survive? Tell me a little about that.
Yeah, most of those existential fears are hard for them actually to name. They manifest themselves in a way that is and shows up in their work as, you seem quiet today. What's going on? And I don't know. It's just too much. And then you try to dig a little bit without intruding and say, there's something you want to talk about. And I think the fears really sometimes are placed on them because, and I'll be honest, I'm not ever going to back down from my truth. A lot of times it's media. Yes. They're over extended in terms of getting their opinions and their information through maybe not factual sources. We saw this during the riots that occurred here in Minneapolis, where our team would say, I heard there's a gang 3 blocks away, with fire torches. Well, there was no such thing, but everything gets just blown up into what's going on. So here's what we do with our young people. First of all, skills are the foundation for any future that you want. Remember, in the restaurant business, it really isn't restaurants, right? We tell people we are in the commodities business. We sell food. We buy commodities. We have a taco factory, so there's some factory work in there. We have selling skills at the front counter, so they're not cashiers. They're our sales team. We work on all of those skills. And so what we teach is, if you want to learn how to run any business in the world, you need 3 things. And we will teach it to you while you're here. How to manage people, how to manage money, and how to manage inventory. And if you can do those 3 things, you can run any business in the world. We also ask young people, what do you want to do? You don't look too happy to be here. Yeah, my mom made me get a job, right? You know what I'm saying? Mom made me get a job. It's summertime.
I've been that mom, yes.
Yeah. So what do you want to do? Well, what I really want to do is build cars, or I really want to, the top 3 I get right now, no judgment, just telling you, I want to be a YouTube star.
YouTube star, absolutely, that's it.
I want to be in the rap business. And I want to basically go into acting and, be some sort of a star that way. So their goals are based on pop culture a lot. Right. I always say, great, who's going to manage your money? I am. Okay, you're not going to have time. You're a star. You're flying on jets. How are you going to trust somebody? We need to work on your paycheck. You need to understand taxes that come out of your check and how to budget. Countless hours sitting down with young people with a piece of paper and a pencil, writing out a budget and bills and how much your bills are. And you always know you've got a challenge when they say, what is this FICA and why did they take my money? So it's a lot of education.
Education they're not getting at school and sometimes at home for this reason or that reason, but to have that practical life skills and to know it really does go in these three buckets that you mentioned. And no matter what they do, they could be YouTube stars or actors or whatever they want to be, they're still going to need to have those three skills and to learn them above and beyond making a paycheck by putting a few hours every week. I really applaud your commitment because that the first time employees are not easy. I mean, you're basically taking folks that are just a piece of clay and you're saying, what do you want to become? Let me help you become it in an environment where you're supported, you're encouraged, you're loved, you're accepted. And what I expect in return is that you respect our rules and you do your job. But in turn, this is all the other things that you're going to get out of it.
It's my favorite part of life. It's truly the only reason I continue to do exactly what I've always done. Because look, most of the kids today that maybe they're 16 to 20 years old and they haven't quite latched onto the idea of college, let's say. It's beyond their view right now. They almost feel resentful that they have to work. And let's add on that it's at a quote unquote fast food restaurant, right? The worst to tell your friends, oh, great, so you're going to go work it. And we have worked hard, tirelessly to help them understand that it's a business. All of the same business principles are here. I think it's probably why I'm so successful in having kept my superstar managers. They are promoted from within. They've worked with me for a couple of them now, 26 years, 24, 19 years. They stay because I love them and because the tacos don't make themselves. I can't do it, but because they started as crew people at 14 years old or 15 years old through high school. And they realized that without a college education, they can make a 6-figure salary with bonuses if they're running high volume restaurants and supporting their community. That's really how you have to break it down. And that passion comes from the fact that I grew up just like them. I never wanted to go home. I love school. In a lot of cases, our young people don't care for school anymore. So their favorite place to go every day is work. And we see that and we appreciate that. And we technically aren't supposed to say like it's a family environment. People sometimes get squishy about that. But yeah, we have Easter egg hunts and yeah, we have Thanksgiving dinner and we do Secret Santa and we have pumpkin painting contests. Yeah, that's what we do. This is a group of people that didn't know each other to start with, but become a family. And so they learn some social adaptation skills that way as well. So that's kind of how we run this taco world over here.
So this speaks to a lot of what Elizabeth and I talk about, which is you've created a very specific type of culture with a very specific mission in mind. And it just happens to be a taco shop that you're running.
Correct.
But there's something greater and bigger going on, and everything you're doing in terms of your policies, your procedures, your training, your reward systems is building this kind of culture. So I guess my question is, was it conscious? Was it deliberate when you first became a franchisee? Or was this kind of like a lot of us, a trial and error thing, and you sort of happened upon it?
It's, I would say it's maybe a mix of both, but predominantly it was my vision for how I thought the workplace should be. My first W-2 job was at a Pizza Hut. And within 3 days, I wasn't sure whether or not I could stay because the person in charge had a temper, would throw things, would launch tirades at people that made mistakes. And to kind of tell you how old I am, there was no delivery of pizza at that time. You actually went to the Pizza Hut to sit down and eat your pizza with your family. So I made $2.05 an hour. And that was life to have $2.05 an hour for me was the difference between living on the street or finding an apartment for $100 a month. And so I worked really hard to kind of keep my head down and not get in trouble, but I learned an awful lot about, if I ever had the chance, how would I run a business? And sometimes I think that's how things work out. You know what you think it should be, and you haven't seen it. And when you get the chance to do it, you do it that way. It's truly an honor for me. I mean, I don't do it right all the time. And again, my team makes me look good, but I won't let a general manager move up into that position unless they really align on the value of family and can demonstrate that as we loan money to kids for whatever it is to help them out, or to managers whose car break down. I mean, we have a fund. We have a little emergency fund for, it's sad, funeral expenses, whatever it is. We try to do that. But we also, on the other side, we expect performance, and we teach performance, and we remove the kind of the things, the obstacles and the defense mechanisms that might be built in. And we just say, that's not good enough. Good enough never is what we like to say. You've got to do it well. And I think for the most part, everybody understands that, or they choose to leave us and we find somebody else that is willing to stay. And we're pretty lucky that way.
Well, I imagine, especially children who have less family support, or maybe they don't speak English at home, this kind of leadership and family atmosphere could be the difference between their success or failure in life. I mean, because these are the critical formative years of their work ethic, their understanding of responsibilities and showing up on time. And like you said, managing their money. Like, my kids were not allowed to not be on time, but I was aware of every single thing they were doing. Yeah. But every kid doesn't have that foundation to rely on. And I think that what you're doing is remarkable, because you don't see it a lot.
Well, I appreciate that. We don't always get it right, but we know we do when 10 years later, somebody comes home to say, I just wanted to thank you. This was my favorite job ever. And now I have my degree, or I've opened up my own beauty salon, or I've started an auto repair company, or I do snow plowing and landscaping. And we hear that, and we see that. We've also had doctors, lawyers, a prima ballerina, other restaurant owners and franchisees come start with us and go on to run their own brands, or brands that even compete with me. I'm not going to lie. So we're very proud of that. We also have stories that we see occasionally in the news where somebody that used to work for us is caught up in a crime, and our team really talks about that as leaders, our leadership team, about, did we do everything we can? Did we try our best? Because they will have left us usually because of those signs that they are already in trouble, and we can't, there's drugs or there's theft, and we try to interrupt what might be a path, but then when we see something go wrong and a fail, we count it as a fail. I guess it hurts, but we try to remember that when we get our next team member, and make sure that we do the best we can with everybody that comes to us. So.
Yeah.
You're like the best boss I've ever met. I mean,
I was thinking the same thing. I want to work at Taco John's in Minneapolis. That's what I want to do.
I will tell you.
You care about these. If you were my child's boss, I would be so thrilled, because one of my kids had a boss who taught him life lessons, and he did well, and then he kind of got tired of it, and he wanted to play his music and practice more, and he was mad that his work interfered with that. And they sat him down and gave him talks, and they were friends of ours. And so once or twice they even called us and said, here's what we're telling him, just so you know. We were like, okay, great. Yay, parenting help.
Yeah. I have had more than one conversation with a parent too. I've had parents come in, and I've had to help them understand the work environment and understand the money piece. I mean, there's so many challenges out there for young people to get into the workforce. And our values really are that any job is a privilege. Any way that you can help your family by supporting yourself, so that your family doesn't have to give you money for whatever your needs are. That's honorable work, regardless of if it's at a fast food restaurant.
Absolutely.
And it lays into our purpose, cause, and passion, which is our family feeds friends. That's it. My 9 stores, 4 words. That's what we do every day. We know our customers. They bring Christmas presents to those same kids. We work hard to live in a neighborhood rather than kind of just another business on the street. And it's worked so far. So
it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful how you're stepping in the gap for these kids and opening up some doors for them into a future by setting a very solid foundation of personal responsibility, self-sufficiency, good decision-making skills, money skills. And I hate for this conversation to end. I don't know about you, but I
know it's went by so quickly.
It's just boom, boom, boom. But I want to make sure that folks that are listening to this show, Tam, that they have a way of getting hold of you. What would be the best way for folks to get hold of you?
Gosh, well, I'm out on LinkedIn. Probably can find me under Tamra Kennedy. Most people get the first name spelled wrong. It's only 5 letters, Tamra. My sister calls me Ra. Everybody else, it's Tam. So kind of interesting. Probably that's the best way. I'm never as close to my emails as I need to be sometimes. And I am doing a lot of work with our government right now, really focused on representing small businesses across the country, franchising in particular, spending hours, I think, legislatively trying to change the value of small business and what our main streets mean and how we can make sure everybody gets back to where they were and their investment is protected as family-owned businesses. So
absolutely,
not always at email, but LinkedIn is probably the best way. Or you've got my email. If you publish any part of this, you're welcome to share my email with them as well.
Absolutely. I think we should have her back to talk about that legislative work that you're doing too. I think that's there was so many things to talk about, but I think that what you're doing for that is equally as important. So
we'd love to have you back.
We'll have to reach back out.
Okay. Happy to.
Thanks, Tam.
Wonderful.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
We are going to come right back with Women in the Know after this commercial break.